Once upon a time, companies made money by selling you things. We basically had movies, music, software, games. But then they discovered something. They discovered something better to sell. Not ownership, but access. And this was things like Netflix, Spotify, Adobe, even heated seats in some BMWs, maybe even YouTube Premium. Because be honest with me, how many subscriptions do you pay for pretty much every month? I actually had to think about it for a moment. And more importantly, how much of it is actually yours? Because without most of us noticing, a lot of things we thought we owned, we basically were never really ours at all. And it wasn't always like this. You bought something once and it stayed yours. The problem is companies only got paid once. They wanted more money. They had to make something new, something better, and then convince you to buy it. Even though you already owned the older version, but the older one still works perfectly, right? As long as you took care of it. Which left companies with a singular problem. And that's where the clever bit actually comes in. So what if customers didn't have to buy the whole thing? What if they only had to pay a small piece of it? For example, with music, instead of buying one album, you could access almost every song you could think of. And with films, instead of buying DVDs one at a time, stacking them on shelves, building little piles of discs and pretending that one day you're actually going to sort them out and organize them, you could just open an app and have thousands of films waiting for you, which, to be fair, does actually sound brilliant. But for customers, it also meant less money today, instant access, and updates included. And subscriptions didn't actually spread because we were all tricked, not at first. They actually spread because the early version felt like a better deal. And they also solved an even bigger problems for companies, because once a customer subscribed, companies weren't then starting from zero anymore. They knew money was coming in next month and the month after that. And that changed everything, because suddenly a customer wasn't just a one-off sale, they were basically repeating revenue. Money came in again and again and again, and investors and shareholders loved that, possibly more than their own family members. So the idea spread. We had basically streaming, we had music, software, delivery apps, cloud storage, fitness apps, meal kits, even cars. The list really does go on and on and on. Because once these companies realized how easy it was for customers to say yes to this, everyone wanted in. And this is when the deal started to change a little bit. So subscriptions felt like a win. You paid less today, you got more stuff instantly, and if something went wrong, you could always cancel, in theory. But that's when things started to shift, because once everything became about access, companies could take away that access. Have you ever gone to, for example, watch Netflix and just to find that what you're actually looking for is actually gone? Maybe it was there last week, but it's gone today. You were sure it was there, and now nothing. Or a song could actually basically vanish from your playlist. You might not even notice until your gym music mix suddenly feels a little bit off and a little bit wrong through that third set. And if you stop paying for software, it could simply just stop working, even if you're using it right then that morning or right then in that actual hour, which is, a great way to ruin the actual morning itself. And that's when the annoying part started to show up. Prices could go up, plans could shrink, features could disappear, and what you got for your money was never really fully locked in. So suddenly people started to realize you didn't actually own the thing, you owned the access to the thing. And that access could be taken away pretty much at any time. And this is where, while researching this video, I actually had a realization around a few things that had gone on. Not in some dramatic way or conspiracy theory way, just in a, hey, wait, companies are actually trying to do this kind of way, because what people were actually used to was actually changing around them. So, for example, take Amazon Prime, for example. Opening up Amazon Prime Video to watch something, you've already paid for Prime. You've pressed play. Your expectations is it just play, and now we have adverts. So unless you actually have another plan that you pay a little bit more, and then the adverts go away too. So now they've got a 2-tier plan. So the thing you already paid for basically actually starts to feel a little bit worse. And that's a pattern, right? People get used to something and then the rules move. Netflix did something similar with sharing. So maybe you shared a password with your parents or your partner or that one friend who somehow stayed logged in for 6 years. For a long time, that felt pretty normal, right? But officially, perhaps not loved, but definitely normal. And then the rules changed very suddenly. An extra person basically became extra money. And once you actually notice this pattern, you actually start to see it everywhere when it comes to these subscriptions where, for example, like Ring doorbells, another good example. You buy a doorbell, put it in your house, watch what's happening live. But when you want to look back at what's happening earlier for, let's say, 30 days, it was fine. You could. But after 30 days, now you need a monthly subscription plan, or you can only do the live buttons and things, which is useful. But you liked having those video recordings. That was half the reason of debating with Amazon that they actually delivered your package or not. And now it's gone before you got home. Games have their own versions of this. So imagine buying a game, seeing it in your library, clicking play, and finding the servers are actually gone. So this is actually what happened with a game called The Crew. So people bought it, the servers shut down, and then basically the game became unplayable. But worse, not old, just unplayable. And then finally, cars got poured into it. So imagine you're sitting in a car, you've bought the car, you're in the middle of winter. Let's say we're in the middle of winter. You're staring at the heated seat button, and the car is basically saying, monthly plan, please. Put your debit or credit card in here. So BMW tried charging people monthly for heated seats. Yes, actual heated seats in a car they had already bought. And in here in the UK, at least, winter is unfortunately, it does actually exist. So another car company, Mercedes, did take it in a slightly different direction. You buy the car, the same motor, but if you actually want to accelerate faster, go a little bit faster in that car, well, actually that costs more. So you pay to have a speed limit almost. Now, it just wasn't, for example, about apps or even really films or even really software. It was about physical things. So things people had already bought that used in their day-to-day lives. And so we have to ask the question, if a company can change the rules, for example, after you buy something, what did you actually buy? And that comes to the next part of, why do we keep paying? And this is the part companies understand extraordinarily well. So most subscriptions don't feel painful on their own. You've got, for example, £5 or $5 here, 10 there, a little bit there. None of it actually feels massive. And that's the problem. It's hard to escape. Instead, they arrive quietly, very quietly, one payment at a time. And again, be honest with me here. Have you ever actually looked at your bank statement and found a subscription you had completely forgot about? You haven't maybe even used in 3, 6, or even 12 months. I know I have. Maybe it was a free trial. Maybe it was an app you once used. Maybe it was something you meant to cancel 3 months ago. And every few months since then, it's basically just kept going. That's why this model actually works so well, because buying is something you actually decide, but staying subscribed, that requires you to be busy, tired, or just slightly lazy, because, you don't wake up every month and choose Netflix again. You just keep paying. And canceling actually takes effort. You have to find the accounts page, remember the password, click through the "Are you sure" screen. And then you get to the final screen that looks like it was designed by someone who really, really, really doesn't want you to leave. Not suspicious at all, of course. And that's the quiet genius of subscriptions. They actually don't need you to say yes forever. They just need you to not say no today, most of the time. And that's enough. So, what did we actually lose? What have we lost? The problem isn't that subscriptions cost money. Everything costs money, doesn't it? It's annoying. The real problem is what you lose when you actually stop owning the actual thing. So you lose control. When you own something, you can keep it, you can use it, lend it, sell it, put it on a shelf that you forget about for 12 years. You can do all that. It's basically a very bold investment strategy, I'm sure. But basically, when only you have access to something when it comes through subscriptions, the price can basically go up. The thing you like can disappear. And the company can actually decide what is your access actually worth next month. That doesn't mean every subscription is bad. Some are genuinely quite useful. Spotify is very convenient. Netflix was convenient, emphasis on was. And not everyone wants a cupboard full of DVDs, CDs, game cases, or installation cases. But the trade-off is actually real. We got convenience. Companies got something better, steady money. And somewhere in the middle, ownership quietly slipped away from us. And that's why this story actually matters. Because the subscription trap isn't just about we pay too much. It's that we can pay forever and still end up owning absolutely nothing. And that's the part companies don't always want us to actually think about. If you cancel every subscription tomorrow, what would you actually still have? Would you have your music? Would you have your films? Would you have your software? Would you have your games? Would you have your car?